All right, what's up? Welcome to another edition of Convict Inc. I'm your host, Robert Rosso, and I have my old sweatshirt on. These are stains. I'm tore up. Got this thing on my head. That was a car door, hit it. It kind of got a little infected. I got these stains on. I'm just, whatever, just going for it. Yeah. Anyway, welcome to Convict Inc. My name's Robert Rosso. I'm your host, and please hit the subscribe button if you have not subscribed. Please hit the like video because that is a thing in YouTube land. I think the more likes, I think all the YouTube powers that be pay attention to that. I haven't got that down yet, but I keep talking about it every video because I've just learned this. So, full disclosure, this is the third video tonight. I just posted the other two, but this won't be posted till tomorrow. Why? Because tomorrow I have things to do, and I'm going to go ahead and get this out, and I'll have a video out for you guys tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is Monday through Friday. I think that's it. Whatever I do, I'll be consistent, and that's what's going to happen. Okay, so I just talked about in the last video, matter of fact, this is on the last video about my experience of becoming a dirty white boy, my time with, from how I got patched up to running the car at Lewisburg and so forth. This episode, I'm going to stick with the dirty white boy theme, only this time I'm going to talk about the most notorious dirty white boy in the federal system. Now, I picked this person, and I'm going to say this. First of all, I was asked this question a long time ago. You know, who's the mace? What's the heroes of the bunch? What's the names that stand out? You've got Danny Champagne, deceased. The Wagner brothers, Dusty. You hear a lot about in the USPs. But because this person has spent all his time since he became a patch holder in the USPs, because he's been going hard the whole time, and because he is so well known, I have to say it's none other than Wilbur, aka Wendell Rigsby. Now, Wendell Rigsby was born and raised in Spencer, Tennessee. It's in Van Buren County. It's a real small hillbilly town from the way it's been described to me. He had two older brothers, mom and dad. At the age of 18, he was indicted for 89,000 marijuana plants that were found in the holler, his backyard. Now, of course, this was not all Wilbur's pot. This was a family or a community operation. Actually, I know the answer to that, but I'm not. That's even though it's years ago, that's his to tell, if ever. Wilbur went down for it. He got 20 years. So locked up 18, 19. He got a 20-year sentence in the feds. Originally, I want to say he was sent to Beckley. I could be wrong. Stayed there for a little bit of time. And according to Wilbur and one other source, because we did confirm it back in the day, he had a relationship or an alleged relationship with the dental hygienist, and they sent him to Memphis, Tennessee. Now, in the 90s, there was the crack laws. For those of you that don't know, Congress, the Democrats, the Republicans going back and forth trying to get harsher, do each other on the tough on crime, came up with the crack law. And that was, you get caught with a gram of crack, it's the equivalent to 100 grams of cocaine. The laws predominantly affected African Americans because it was mostly blacks in the inner cities that were being targeted. And we can go say why. I know some of my black friends say it was a conspiracy to take down the black man and to hold blacks back. I mean, there's some people that really believe that and make arguments. So whatever you believe, whatever happened, the crack laws were absolutely unjust. And since then, today there are 18-1. And you know how they came up with that number 18-1? Jeff Sessions was in the gym, didn't want to do the crack law amendment, And they said, give me a number, Jeff, meaning, hey, come on, we can't make crack 100 to 1 anymore. Let's take, he said 18 to 1, threw a number out there. So now today they're 18 to 1, way off track. Let me get back. FCI Memphis, 1995. The U.S. Senate Commission tells Congress, puts a report out that says that crack cocaine should be the equivalent to powder cocaine. For whatever reason, Congress and or the Clinton administration said no, left it 100 to 1, and riots broke out all over the Bureau of Prisons. One of those prisons being FCI Memphis, where Wilbur was. Wilbur, a clown, real country. We used to say that he spoke in Hillbonics. Y'all reckon fixin' y'all. I mean, real twangy. Yins. He said yins a lot. He was best described recently as a man-child, and that's perfect. Anyway, Wilbur, a child back then himself, got involved in the crack riots. Why? He had no business. He was a marijuana grower and white at that. This was a African-American issue, basically, pretty much. And he just, the reason he gave for joining was it looked like they were having a lot of fun. They were tearing down buildings, burning mattresses, just hooting and hollering and having a grand old time. And of course, Wilbur being a 6'2", 6'3", tall, lanky, long arm, long hair at the time, white guy, stood out like a sore thumb, especially with his twanging. And they targeted Wilbur, got him, got rid of him, and sent him to a USP. Raised his custody points, sent him to a max. Eventually, and I'm cautious with that, he got patched up along the way in Memphis or in USP Allenwood around 1997, 1998. At the time, Allenwood, there was 3 dirty white boys, I believe, maybe 4 and a couple prospects. And let's just say the shot caller's name was Mike. Don't know that for sure. I've heard this story so many times. Wilbur talk about it so much. But let's just say Mike was the shot caller. Wilbur and Mike were good friends. Wilbur loved Mike. And let me go ahead and say this. People join gangs for different reasons. Protection. They want to be bullies. They want to run up, whatever. Some join for the camaraderie, the family. Wilbur absolutely joined the Dirty White Boys for the family. It's all about family to him. And yeah, so I'll go down there. Allenwood, where Wilbur was at, USP Allenwood, where Wilbur and Mike were at, is about an hour away from USP Lewisburg. At the time, that was a brand yard or Aryan Brotherhood yard with Dirty White Boys on the yard with the brand. A message or a kite was sent from USP Lewisburg to Allenwood to Wilbur saying that Mike, the shot caller, was no good. He was a rat. He had testified against somebody. He had cooperated. Whatever it said, Wilbur was supposed to handle it, meaning he was supposed to smash Mike, and he did not, because that was his shot caller, that was his brother, that was his family. He loved him, and there was no paperwork presented. There was no proof. So Wilbur just pretended it did not happen. Some months or weeks, months goes by, whatever. Another kite comes in from the bros at Lewisburg, says Mike's no good. Now, Mike's brother was also a member of the brand. So Mike, the shot caller for the Dirty White Boys at Allenwood's brother, was a member of the Aryan Brotherhood. Paperwork comes this time. So this time, Wilbur's got proof that Mike ain't no good. Rather than take it for whatever reason, and I should say, Wilbur's got a huge, huge, huge heart. For whatever reason, he didn't take it to the rest of the bros of the prospects. He took it straight to Mike and said, "Hey, brother, we got something here. Do you want to talk about this? Do you want to tell me it ain't so? Whatever, you know." Mike said, "Let's meet on the next move." On the next move, Mike comes out and nearly kills Wilbur. Runs a knife through his neck, broke his jaw, just fucked him up, got hella backed out. Cop saved him. Wilbur tell you, the cop saved his life. Cop saved his life. Was in the hospital for a while. And Feds came in, wanted Wilbur to testify, attempted murder. Wilbur would not do it. No snitch. Wilbur would not testify against his bro. And may I add, he admitted later on, and he liked Mike a lot. He was hurt. He was really hurt. That's why he was reluctant. He really didn't want to do nothing. He was torn. You know, this is his family. Let his guard down, and that's what happened. He almost got killed for it. I ended up at USP Leavenworth in the Midwest, around 98, around the same time that happened. And I start running with the DWBs, but I don't get patched up till 2001. 99 or 2000, Wilbur pops up at Leavenworth. He was in the hospital for a while for almost having got killed. And I was there when the brothers, the Dirty White Boys, were talking about Wilbur coming onto the compound. And there was a mixed bunch. Some of them felt that he should be smashed and should no longer be able to be a DWB because he disrespected an order to hit Mike, and then Mike turned around and nearly killed him. Others felt since he made a blunder and almost got killed that he should be given a break. Ultimately, he came out, never lied, was straight up about what happened. And I remember the guys after he left, because I was there, they were laughing because he's so funny. He's hilarious. And in that voice, that twang, that country, hillbilly stuff, it's hard not to like the guy. So whoever was in the camp to smash him, or he couldn't get him out of the Dirty White Boys, changed their mind. And a decision was made to make Wilbur go on a mission. That was to smash a guy by the name of Wilmore. The same day. Wilmore, I described in the video called My First Day in Federal Prison, was a guy from Oregon, California with a bald head and a jaundiced glow. Slithery. Used to slither. He didn't walk. He slithered around. And I got a story about Will coming up. It has to do with rape. He was slimy. Will was. Anyway, Will had made the mistake of spending the Dirty White Boy money. Now, stamps is currency. The Dirty White Boys had a ticket. They made a lot of money. So they made a lot of stamps. The stamps were held in Tide boxes that were resealed. The guys who the money belonged to was Wolf and Billy, went to the hole. Will had the responsibility of holding the stamps, shot them all up, spent them all on dope, blew it. So when they came out, sorry guys, I'll make the money back by moonshining. That was one of his sins. Also, he tried to extort a white guy by the name of Randy, and word got back out to Randy. Anyway, after chow, on the day that Wilbur went on the mission, everybody's standing, waiting, the guys that knew. I had brought Randy, the guy that Will wanted to extort, with me to watch. We're watching. Out walks Wilbur. You see Wilbur, he had long hair, he had a mullet. He had real long straight hair, and he had a high mullet. And here comes the crowd with Will. They walk up Will to Wilbur, and he introduces him. Wilbur, bam, he smashes Will. Will goes down, and I'm going to tell you something. Wilbur was on this dude, and every time he kicked him, get some, how you like that? Taste my boot, boy, taste my... Everybody that was out was on the east yard. So at Leavenworth, outside of the chow hall, there's the stairs, and that area is called the east yard. It's a walkway that then cuts out, but that was the east yard. Everybody that was on the east yard that saw this happen, it was like a laugh, a collective ha 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 ha, because Wilbur was just talking shit in that country boy. Get some boy, get it, taste my boot. Hey, how you like that? And it was freaking hilarious. Now, Wilbur goes to the hole, and when he gets out and everybody gets to know him, Wilbur was married to a girl named Tracy. Tracy he met at USP Allenwood on visitation. An inmate there hooked him up. It was his cousin, friend, or whatever. Hooked him up, and Tracy was a special thing. Brown hair. See the red mark on my thing? She had like wart things that look like that. Reading glasses. You know, weighed in about right about 300 pounds. And Wilbur, we thought she was just his mule, meaning drug mule, because she did, rumor was she brought goodies, but Wilbur loved the girl. Now, he came to prison when he was 18 years old, but so much so did he love her that he moved her with his family to the Hollers of Spencer, Tennessee, where she lived in a trailer for a while. And I'll never forget, on her birthday, she took pictures of herself for Wilbur. And the pictures were of her in a bathtub. She barely fit in this bathtub. With the cake. And she was eating the cake. And that cake was a big sheet cake. And she was eating like, Wilbur's like, isn't she beautiful? Oh, man. Yeah. Anyway, so Tracy, the lovely Tracy. So as I got to know Wilbur, we spent a lot of time on the shoot for this reason or that. And I had the horrible misfortune of sailing with him. He's a man-child. He's like a little kid. He likes to play. And let me give you an example of what Wilbur does. Just be sitting there reading, and all of a sudden he'd get on the door and scream, help, help, I'm being raped. Robert Rosso's raping me, see ya? And all the cops would come running, and he'd sit at the door and laugh, ha, ha, ha. And actually sound like he was getting raped. I mean, scream at the top of his lungs. Also, I've seen the warden come to the door. And Wilbur walk up to the warden, to the door, there's a slot, and Wilbur would say, hey, excuse me, sir, can you tell me something? The warden like, well, yes, Mr. Rigsby. And he'd pull down his pants, show him the warden's dick and say, is this too big for my body? He did that to the warden. Always on joke time, always clown. In the cell, living with Wilbur, we used to get drunk and do burpees, see who can outdo each other in burpees. And one of the things this son of a bitch would do, you'd be laying in bed and he'd get his shower shoe, which was thick plastic, and just start beating the dog shit out of your legs and laughing. Man, that wasn't fun. I mean, it hurt, but that was Wilbur playing. And he can dish it out and he can take it. But man, was he a freaking riot. Now, some of the things between me and him, I said in a video about a guy named Finn, when Finn was the guy who ruined Bruce Neighbor's face. Finn thought that he was going to do that assault on Bruce Neighbors as a part of prospecting for the Dirty White Boys. When he got to the hole, he goes to wreck, sees Wilbur and says, I just prospected, I'm a brother now, whatever. And Wilbur says, you're lying. Rob would never say that. And Wilbur beat him up. And Wilbur got a shot for beating him up. And because of that, Wilbur got transferred. So yeah, because of me, Wilbur got transferred. And I don't know to this day if he doesn't know if I lied, if I did that. Or I swear to God I won't. He will now. As somebody he knows is going to watch this, I'm going to make sure she does. Anyway, so he ends up down in Pollock, Louisiana. I get my patch. We get into it that we, the Dirty White Boys, I get patched up. Now I'm a member. We get into it with the arms. And while we're in the hole, I send a kite or a letter to Wilbur's family on the street, who then forwards a letter to him. And in the letter on the back page, I put, it's on and popping with the long arms, meaning it's on with the arms, hit any member of the arms on sight. Well, this letter was intercepted by SIS, the Institutional Gestapo. They pull Wilbur out of the cell, pull him into the office and say, what is this? Wilbur has no idea what the long arms are. I was drunk when I wrote it. Probably didn't make much sense. They didn't believe Wilbur, and they locked him up in the hole for 9 months. Not only did I get him shipped, I got him locked up for 9 months on a letter that I sent. And I never was questioned about the letter at Leavenworth. So, we'll skip down the road. Next time I see Wilbur, I'm at USP Lewisburg. I've got the keys to the car, shot caller, whatever you want to say. And it was me and Dusty were coming back in from the yard from playing handball, and a cop stops us and says, "Hey, your shot caller's here." And we're like, "What?" And he's like, "The guy who runs all the Dirty White Boys." Now, the Dirty White Boys, we don't have a structure like that. Unfortunately, I would say, anyway, Dirty White Boys should have a structure like the ones in Indiana. But anyway, there was none. But somebody had came to Lewisburg, and before you can come out on the compound, you have to spend a week or two in the chute, and then you have to go to a meeting called Quay. It's a review with all the executive staff, and they all question you. They just pepper you with questions. And somehow during this meeting, Wilbur said that he was the longest patch holder of the Dirty White Boys. So basically he's saying, by saying that, he has seniority over everybody and he's the leader of all the Dirty White Boys, which arguably he probably did have at that point. I don't know. I don't know what you're... Anyway, he was also on his way home. He was just about to leave within a few months. So because of the way the car was running, that is me and Dusty. So I say that I was a shot caller, but it was really me and another guy, really are the ones that made all the moves for the Dirty White Boys, made all the decisions. He didn't get the shot caller role, but because everybody loves the guy. Now I'm sure there's people that hate him because he's loud and obnoxious, but every race, it's just, Wilbur's a damn fool. That's what they'll say. Wilbur's a fool. And let me give you an example. Geese would commonly fly onto the yard at Lewisburg, and some of the Orientals Asians who were involved in the drug trade would pay to have pigeons and geese caught and give you a $50 paper of heroin for it. And Wilbur would run down these geese, and the whole yard would be laughing, watching him, and I'll be a son of a bitch, he wouldn't catch him every time. He'd just snatch those geese up and just, oh man, and he'd take his shoes off and run barefooted. I actually saw Wilbur one day, Willie Falcone. If you guys don't know who he is, most people do. Serious guy, serious cocaine. Was he Cuban out of the 80s in Miami? Bodies everywhere. Owns a bank, real wealthy. Willie Falcone would buy a baseball team. He would pay players to be on his team. He took baseball seriously. And I've seen Wilbur go out there and chase Willie around, and like grab his and smack him with it. And this is Willie Falcone. And Willie's like I said, he's a serious. He doesn't like to joke like that. But Wilbur got away with it just because he's Wilbur. He told a story of when he was a kid, which was backed up by one of his neighbors that I met in 2010 by the name of Kevin. When he was a child, he used to get a cardboard box, go out in the middle of a busy street and get under the cardboard box. You know, like people run over cardboard boxes. That's what kind of kid he was. So, he was just wild. All right, so let me back up a bit. There's something serious here. In 2001, right before Wilbur was transferred, I believe, me and Kenny are in the shoe one night drinking. In Leavenworth, that shoe was a nonstop party. We would also take gabapentin or Neurontin, anywhere from 10 to 15 600s at a time. Back in the day, they used to prescribe us bottles. We can get a bottle every other day, 120 pills. Take as needed. Well, I needed 120 pills. No bullshit. I got medical records that'll prove this. And we used to sit in the shoe and just get freaking blasted off these Neurontin and alcohol. It was about 12 o'clock one night, maybe a little after. We're sitting there telling lies, me and Kenny, and all of a sudden the door comes open. That's unusual for the secured door and the secured special housing in the shoe hole. And in walks Wilbur. And his face is wet and he's been just bawling. And he said, "Daddy had a heart attack and flipped the truck. Mom fell out and got her head cut off." That's not funny, but in the Hillbonics that he speaks, in the manner which he said it, like me and Kenny first blurted out a laugh. Kenny cackled hard, but like I caught what he was saying quick and saw him, but it was the way he said it. And sure enough, his dad had a heart attack and flipped his truck. Mom fell out, and it didn't decapitate her, but she was it was close, and they both died. And that night, not only did the cop let Wilbur stay in our cell, it was a sad ordeal. He stayed and drank. He let us go to a different cell and get another bag of wine from one of our people and come back in the cell and drink it. And then gave Wilbur a call in the morning. And then I had my mom send flowers for the dirty white boys to Wilbur's family, because he couldn't. Anyway, so that was something that doesn't happen every day in prison. Door open in the middle of the night, guy come in. When you're drinking, cops let you get drunk, parents, So I always remember that one. So right before Wilbur left, and we're going to skip back to Lewisburg, 2006. It's got about 10, 11 days to go. A hit was called on a guy that was in arms. Guy that was a member of the arms shows up at Lewisburg, and we're still beefing with them. We had to go. 2 guys were sent in, and the 2 guys couldn't handle. The armed guy was a tough son of a bitch and fought back. And there was a whole gang of brothers out there, and Wilbur jumped in and got in the fights. He got locked up. 11 days before he's supposed to get out. Now, he did 20 on 20. He's supposed to do about 17 and a half on a 20-year sentence. He did all 20 years because he stayed in trouble. He went hard. And we were in the cell. He was in the cell with me the days before he left. And he got one of his brothers passed away, suicide, I believe, or whatever, debatable. His mom and dad were gone. They had a farm or a homestead up on the mountain and hollers. There was a brother left. The brother's like in Knoxville or some city. Nobody was up at the family homestead. And they got a letter, and the sister-in-law didn't want Wilbur to live in the same house as them because he had Hep C. He was fucked up about it. She treated him like the plague because he had Hep C. But he got out, didn't really keep in contact with many people for long. I heard he worked for Saturn for a while. Eventually, he did return to his parents' homestead, and he married what I was told by his neighbor, Kevin, I believe it was Kevin, guy I grew up with him, the prettiest girl in the county or the town. Parents have some money or something, but a lot younger than him, and he landed her. And he was on the street, and he was talked a lot about being a dirty white boy, and proud of that, real still proud of that. And eventually, drugs, and you know what the thing was? Wilbur got high in prison, but he didn't do it like us, and he wasn't an addict. He partied because people around him did, but he can go without it, I'll say that. He got out and he got on meth after some couple years. He bought some pills. Ended up one of these stupid conspiracies where all he did was buy some pills and the guy make meth. The guy was, I believe Kevin, his neighbor, was making it. I think he got 10. Wilbur ended up getting another 20-year sentence because they had careered him as a career criminal. And he had a daughter. And he left behind this girl, this beautiful girl I hear, and a daughter. And I heard that he really, really loved him. Now, meth had got him, and in the end, he was living up at the farm or the family house. Heard he was doing good. Then at the end, no running water, no electricity. There was a pet donkey I heard about. People were saying that he might have been sleeping with a skeleton or a body. Like there was crazy rumors, but that's not. He would love for people to believe something like that. That's just Wilbur's storytelling. Anyway, Wilbur right now is back in federal prison. I just looked him up. His release date is 2030. And I recently found out that he's filed for compassionate release, does have Hep C, a host of other issues. And I'm trying to get in contact with that girl or people and help him out. I'm going to find out here shortly. But there has never been anybody that I know who absolutely loved being a dirty white boy more than Wilbur Rigsby. There is nobody that was more known because of being funny, being a jackass, being a comedian than Wilbur Rigsby. By far, he is the dirty white boy that stands out the most. Now, I know there's other guys. Wagner's, I think there was in the FCIs, but let me say this, and I don't know how it is, don't know how it is anymore. Back in the day, the dirty white boys at the FCIs, if they came up to the USPs, had serious problems. Not saying it was right, just a fact. They were treated more harshly than a prospect. They definitely were going on all the missions. And the reason is a lot of the thinking was that there shouldn't have, if you're a dirty white boy, you should be doing a constant being in drama, and there should be no way that you should be wearing clear conduct and staying in FCI. That's stupid, kind of, because now you're telling a brother to stay in prison, but that was the mentality, and I have seen several FCI dirty white boys come up to a pen and couldn't handle it. Two of them dropped out. One of them's name was Sean Wilson. Got treated poorly. Not saying it was right or wrong, but I bring that up because I know there's some guys at dirty white boys at FCIs that are pretty well known, made a lot of money. I heard there were some that went out and did some businesses, towing trucks, cattle. Money they made in prison as a gang member, went out and did something. I heard there's some brothers that started a biker group. And let me say, I gave my story about me and the dirty white boys in the last video. You guys can watch it last night. So I'm posting this tonight. This will be posted tomorrow. In the last video, the one before this, I tell my story. In any prison gang, there should be some kind of a structure, hierarchy, and that's one of the things that I always felt the DWBs really needed. And they need a place where you can also parole. In other words, the Texas Aryan Brotherhood, once upon a time, they had a lot going on the street. And from what I understood, when they had church on the street, one of their leaders would say, "Hey, if you're kicking indoors, we got work for you. If you're a carpenter in the square, we got work for you." So anybody, they're taking all walks of life. Everybody can play a part of the gang. And I always felt that's what should happen. So if there's going to be a prison gang, there should be some kind of opportunity for when they got out, And I hear that there's something going on. I'm not part of that, but I hear that, and I do talk to a few bros still. Anyway, I wish Wilbur's the best luck. I'm going to try to help him out, and I haven't talked to him in years. If anybody ever wants to ride him, he's at Coleman, Wendell, Rigsby, or send him freaking money. Send him $10, I'd make his world, man. Still active, still cares a lot, still not letting go. The dirty white boys, people say, are a dying breed. There's less and less and less, and he's holding on, and he'll hold on till the end. But funny guy, and definitely he is the dirty white boy extraordinaire. Wendell Wilbur Rigsby from Spencer, Tennessee.